So I'm curious of your thoughts about how do we even begin to go about making that change? Because it really sounds like we all agree there's some sort of cultural overhaul that needs to take place. So what are some thoughts on, how to make that change?
Well, you know, I was thinking as we were all sitting here talking, like, what are the chances of you coming in and picking public and private? And then we say, hey, Sophie, do you want to do this dialogue? Her first dialogue then,
Is
right?
it your first one?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that, and what are the something in it? And to me, your question to what could be done, it was because there was a safe place for respectful dialogue. It's creating a space. And we didn't come with any agendas, but somehow in this space we found something that was so important to so many of us. And I just think that could be, it's simple, but it could be enough for this, for political issues, for large issues that seem to be almost impossible to navigate, right?
I think like in that vein too, education and a kind of progressive education that teaches openness. So if we continue to foster people, and boys especially, that have this openness, it will start to shift the climate and the gears, I guess.
I think once again, speaking from like the point of view of someone like a little less educated on the topic, just what I see is trying to make a change is like the way media covers like these kind of stories is almost like is disgusting sometimes. Her letter that she wrote to him, like kind of explaining the whole night and stuff that you wouldn't usually see, and stuff that oftentimes like the media hides. But when you like read a story like that, like firsthand, and when someone's brave enough to like share with you everything that happened, which is like an incredibly difficult thing to do, I imagine. Like hearing the real story that we don't always get, like has had a really great impact on me as someone like who was previously like more blind to like the whole topic.
The more that you are able to hear people talk, the easier it gets, and it also takes away some of the weight of like how just any terrible thing that could happen. Because if you say like, it's almost like when a child like falls down or something, if everybody in the room goes like, oh my god, like of course the baby's gonna start to cry, but if he just falls down and life keeps going on around it, like the baby's fine and they'll just start laughing. So it's almost like you just have to like keep going forward and make these types of conversations more commonplace. So it's not like, guys, sit down, I need to tell you something. It's like, this happened, okay, now it's tomorrow.
There's a case to bring the private, into the public spotlight at times. But that's really hard, and like we were saying, it's impossible to ask anybody to do that. So, yeah, again, we're in a tough, unless there are spaces where we feel okay doing that, where everybody feels in control of their own narrative. It's a tough problem. It's tough to bridge those two.
And when you were talking about the transgender community, so in Cleveland just last week, they passed an ordinance that now is a non-discrimination ordinance that's inclusive of gender identity, which is huge. And so when we talk about this issue of public and private, it's been really difficult to hear so many conversations coming up about people in bathrooms and sexual assault in these intersections. And we know that this is happening and committed with people that we know and that we care about and people that we love, and that it's not predominantly strangers in an alley, so it's just this public and private issue that has so many other connotations that have to be talked about, because I feel like if we operate from this place of fear, we never get to where you all have really taken it today of just listening and talking. But when we talk about public and private too, I worry sometimes for survivors that do share their stories and don't get that support of putting it out there and then having to carry that by themselves. And so I think it's seeing young men like you guys, honestly, like listening and hearing it and speaking out about it that helps challenge other men when they say stuff that can make it really hard for male and female survivors to really speak out about the issue. So, I mean, I appreciate just you listening and talking about it.
Just human beings are so complex, and it's so easy to let one story be the narrative that you have of a person. And so I think that what can be really scary about people sharing their stories of, of violence, of losing control, is that not only do they lose control of the story, but the story is often becomes them. If it goes wrong, it becomes them, and that's just so unfair because it's not their story. They were roped into this story. It's not who they are. It's not anything about them. It has no reflection on who they are as a person, but it's become a part of their life. And when you share a story like that with people, I mean,